Good evening and welcome to the September 1st, 2020 Lone Tree City Council meeting. We were just in executive session, so we are reconvening. We will officially begin the meeting at 7:05 to allow time for the public to connect. In support of social distancing requirements and based on space limitations in our building, the city is limiting physical attendance at public meetings to only essential staff, applicants, and elected officials. We will continue to provide access to the meetings via electronic participation for members of the public. All attendees are required to wear a face covering when entering and exiting the building and within 6 feet of another person. The city will also implement symptom monitoring measures for attendees, such as temperature checks and completion of the city's facilities health screening survey before entering the meeting. There will be 3 ways to enter public comment during our virtual meetings. Comments that were submitted in writing prior to the meeting are forwarded to City Council and will be included in the official meeting minutes. If you would like to type a comment during the public comment portion of our agenda, click Ask a Question in the sidebar of the virtual meeting and your name and address in the message window along with your public comment. Your name and comments will be forwarded to the City Council and included in the official meeting minutes. If you would like to speak to Council live using your telephone, please indicate that in the Ask a Question box, submit your name, phone number, and address, and you will receive a call back from the city to hear your public comment. Again, all public comments should be directed to City Council, and we ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. Again, we are waiting until 7:05 to begin our meeting this evening to allow time for the public to connect to our virtual meeting. So thank you for your patience. Again, we are waiting until 7:05 to begin our regular meeting to allow time for folks to connect virtually. We've got about 2 more minutes before we begin the formal part of the meeting. Thank you for your patience. Okay, it is 7:05. Welcome to the September 1st, 2020 Lone Tree City Council meeting. We were convened in executive session, so I am going to reconvene us in our regular meeting. I will ask you to all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There are no amendments to the agenda. It is adopted as published. Are there any conflicts of interest from council?
None here.
Glad to hear it. Moving on to our public comment section. And again, I want to remind everyone that public comment can be provided 3 ways during our virtual meetings. First, you could submit public comment in writing prior to our meeting. It will be forwarded to council and included in the official minutes of the meeting. During this section of public comment, you could type your public comment or question into the Ask a Question box on the side of your screen. Staff will forward those comments to council, and again, they will be included in the meeting minutes, the official meeting minutes. If someone would like to submit public comment live during our meeting, you can also put that in the Ask a Question box. Please include your name and your phone number. Staff will call you and allow you to provide public comment live during our meeting. Again, comments are limited to 3 minutes, and we ask that you direct your comment to council. This is not a question and answer period. This is just the time for you to provide feedback to City Council, and we will follow up with you as appropriate. So thank you for that. I'm just going to ask our city clerk if anybody has requested to participate with us this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't see any requests for public comment.
Okay. And let's just follow up just for the record. Were there any comments included or forwarded before this meeting?
There were no comments submitted in advance.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to pause just very briefly to allow time if someone does wish to connect with us to submit their live public comment via conference. So you can continue to do that and try and connect with us. We'll go back while I review our upcoming events and announcements. And again, more information is always available at thecityoflonetree.com and lonetreeartcenter.org. Our city offices will be closed on Labor Day, Monday, September 7th. Excuse me, yeah. COVID community testing is beginning at the Lone Tree Arts Center every Monday from 9 to 3 p.m. starting September 14th. Visit the city website for more information. Tunes on the Terrace, Billy and the Downliners will be Friday, September 11th and Saturday, September 12th at 7:30 p.m. Lone Tree Arts Center Terrace Theater, weather cooperating. If it rains, we will be moving into the main theater indoors. Our virtual Spark Alliance and the Lone Tree Photo Show is Tuesday, September 17th. You can also be looking at the city's wonderful art show that's on the walls of our beautiful facility virtually, and please go to lonetreeartcenter.org to see more about that. Have we had anybody request to participate in public comment? Mr.
We have not.
Okay. All right. I'm going to close our public comment period now and move on to ceremonial presentations. And this is an important one. We do it annually and we look forward to it. And this is a proclamation for Constitution Week. So, whereas September 17th, 2020 marks the 233rd anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through September 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, Jacqueline A. Millay, Mayor of the City of Lone Tree, Colorado, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through September 23rd, 2020 to be Constitution Week. And I ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the official seal of the City of Lone Tree to be affixed this first day of September 2020. It's nice to have something good to celebrate in 2020. So that is wonderful. All right, next on our agenda is the consent agenda, which includes minutes from August 18th from our regular City Council meeting and claims for the period of August 10th through August 24th, 2020. I will look for a motion from council on the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item number 10, community development. This is a public hearing on ordinance 20-06, an ordinance amending chapter 17 of the Lone Tree Municipal Code concerning subdivisions. This is first reading. It will be presented by Roshana Floyd from our city staff, and I'm going to reopen our public hearing on this topic.
Good evening again, Mayor, Council. This evening we have before you the first reading of Ordinance 20-06, an ordinance amending Chapter 17 of the Lone Tree Municipal Code concerning subdivisions. Next slide, please. All right, this is a beautiful picture from our very own city, and this is right here what we choose to protect with our subdivision regulations. Next slide, please. Revision summary. Legal review of all language in the code proposal has been reviewed by the city attorney. We will be updating several sections, removing one section for exemptions, including a abrogation notice for the FAA, cleaning up the structure and processes within the code, and adding a reference to landscape design guidelines within the public right-of-way, as well as a security provision for landscaping improvements. Next slide, please. In previous study sessions with City Council, we have discussed that landscaping in the public right-of-way and along the public right-of-way in Lone Tree is considered to be a public improvement worthy of protecting and worthy of reviewing against our design guidelines. The city wants to ensure that landscaping is in line with these guidelines and also with our safety standards, and we do that via the review and approval of landscape plans in these areas, which allows us to provide long-term tracking of maintenance and any issues that may arise throughout the history of the city. Next slide, please. Brief visuals of what we are speaking of when we talk about landscaping in and along the public right-of-way. We are speaking specifically of medians, tree lawns, and occasionally entryways that may be called out on a specific subdivision plat. Next slide, please. The benefits of the code revision as proposed is that the addition of a security requirement for landscaping in and along the public right-of-way in the way that it has been proposed by staff provides a fair application to small and large developers. It provides a code that is transparent and predictable for developers and for staff in its application. A code that is efficient and allows for better integration with additional agreements that are associated with our subdivision processes, and a code that is effective. It is easier to track relative to the additional development steps, such as the issuance of building permits, and thereby it reduces error. Next slide, please. Public landscape improvements. This is an overview of the process. When guaranteeing our landscape improvements, we begin with a final plat and a landscaping project estimate. That is then paired with a subdivision improvements agreement that is reviewed and vetted by the city attorney. And that is then finally paired with a guarantee, which seals the deal of this particular process of development. And in this code, we are proposing that that guarantee be provided one of two ways, either via a traditional cash or letter of credit in the amount of 115% security per code, or as an alternative via a phasing plan with development triggers. And we are proposing a menu, if you will, of development triggers. Next slide, please. That menu is, again, as I mentioned, a traditional security as one option, or a guarantee in lieu of financial security. In the case of single-family detached developments, that guarantee would be provided via a phasing plan with triggers. The trigger for single-family detached development is proposed as build out up to 75% of a subdivision plat or subdivision phase, with landscaping required at the completion of that 75% build out prior to the remaining build out. For single-family attached, multifamily, and commercial, staff is proposing that that trigger be with the certificate of occupancy for those structures within a site improvement plan. Next slide, please. This is where that proposal will place the city relative to our neighboring jurisdictions. It places us, as staff views it, very comfortably in the middle. We are neither the most restrictive nor the least restrictive, and we feel this further promotes fiscal responsibility, business-friendly practices in the city of Lone Tree, and it ensures that we will continue to have high-quality development in the city. Next slide, please. I thank you for your time. Are there any additional questions?
Thank you for that great presentation. I know we have spent some time on this with you, and so we appreciate your thoroughness. And again, I think also we want to compliment staff on raising this issue because we absolutely did have a hole in our documents. So with that, I'll look to council to see if you've studied it hard in study session. I know that, but is there anything else that you would like to ask this evening? No. Okay. Well, this is a public hearing, so I do want to give the public time to weigh in. So has there, anybody asked to participate in public comment virtually?
Mayor, I'm not seeing any requests for public comment. Okay.
So we'll give it a brief moment because I do think it's more challenging when we're virtually participating, to give them a minute to dial in. So. And a heads up, if you want to participate in the next public comment, you can let us know now for that one as well. This is the advanced call for this next public hearing, but we do want to make sure the public has time to engage on issues that are very important into the future of the community in particular. So I will look to our city clerk again.
Thank you, Mayor. There's still no request for public comment.
Okay. Well, then I will close the public comment period. Excuse me, I will close this public comment and I will close the public hearing, and we will take this up on second reading at our next council meeting. So, oh, excuse me, and I'll look for the motion. Thank you.
I move to approve ordinance 20-06 and ordinance amending chapter 17 of the Lone Tree Municipal Code concerning subdivisions on first reading.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. We'll look forward to the next round, second reading. Okay, thank you. Moving on, administrative matters, public hearing ordinance 20-07, and ordinance amending Article 3 of Chapter 4 of the City of Lone Tree Municipal Code concerning sales tax and economic nexus for retailers or vendors without physical presence in the state. This is second reading, and I will open our public hearing on this item and turn it to our Deputy City Manager, Kristen Baumgartner, for the staff presentation.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is an exciting night to again be bringing ordinance 2007 to City Council. You guys have been very committed to sales tax simplification and looking at ways that we can partner with the state and our local tax remitters. So really happy to be here tonight on second reading. Next slide, please. We've talked in the past that really a lot of this discussion has revolved around the changing dynamics around physical presence or nexus that has been evaluated over the last several years with remote sellers. And the Wayfair ruling by the United States Supreme Court that occurred in 2018 stated that a retailer's obligation to collect sales tax is no longer based on the retailer's physical presence. This was a huge change from previous practice, and now with internet sales and physical presence rule being, kind of competing with each other, it has in the past created an unfair taxing situation for in-state businesses and tax benefit for out-of-state businesses. So we're hoping with ordinance this evening that it'll level that playing field. Next slide, please. So one of the reasons why we're doing this is to accomplish a couple things. One, when remote sellers deliver tangible personal property and products into our city through internet sales, that does rely on and burdens local governments on infrastructure and other city services. So we feel that having that same requirement for remote sellers for tax remittance is important. Also, failure to tax remote sellers creates incentives for businesses to avoid physical presence in the state, which results in fewer jobs and increases the share of taxes on consumers who do shop locally. And the goal of adopting this ordinance is really to address these issues and join the simplification efforts on standardized definitions throughout the state. Next slide, please. So last year, the state started this process with House Bill 19-1240 to address Wayfair ruling at the state level. And they did two things. Effective June 1st last year, Economic Nexus was established for state remitters that if you had over $100,000 in taxable transactions, regardless of where you were located at in the state of Colorado or outside the state, you needed to remit taxes. And then on October 1st of 2019, it also requires that now marketplace facilitators such as Amazon would start collecting for their marketplace sellers. So that put the burden on them that they need to be remitting all the taxes for anyone who does business on their platform. Next slide, please. House Bill 19-1240, again, just addressed Wayfair ruling for the state. And so the home rule jurisdictions talked that we would enforce voluntary compliance until a single point of remittance system was in place. And we are happy that that is in place now with the sales tax or the state sales and use tax system, which City Council approved joining that site last meeting. And so with this new site, that undue burden criteria per the Commerce Clause on interstate commerce should be alleviated, which allows now for home rule jurisdictions, if they participate in the state system, to tax and enforce remote sellers. An update from our last meeting is that as of Friday, 47 out of the 71 home rule municipalities are anticipated to be on board by the end of this fall, or 66%. So that's really good news. And so I think that critical mass will have been set by the end of the fall and the system will be widely used throughout the state. Next slide, please. So our ordinance tonight, ordinance 20-07, does three different things. The first thing is it amends definitions in our code for two things: for engaged in business in the city and the definition for retailer or vendor. And really it just expands both of those to include the economic nexus piece and then the remote seller component. Next slide, please. Second, it adds definitions for new items such as economic nexus, which follows the state definition, marketplace, marketplace facilitator, marketplace seller, and multi-channel sellers. Next slide, please. And then lastly, it adds in new subsections D and E under section 43320, which establishes that these types of retailers are required to collect and remit sales tax to the city. And secondly, it provides auditing abilities of the city to audit these marketplace facilitators for enforcement. So with that, I'll see if there are any council questions. And again, would like to thank our city attorney for all of her assistance and the Colorado Municipal League for kind of their guidance and leadership on this. And we're really excited again for your consideration of this evening.
Well, we want to thank you for your good work on this. This has been a long process, so thank you, Kristen, too. So any questions on this? Again, this is an item we've been considering for a period of time, so I don't expect any, but I certainly want to make sure you guys have the opportunity. So anything from anyone? Okay. Again, this is a public hearing, so I will look to see if anybody has requested to participate virtually in our public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't see any requests for public comment.
Okay. Well, we're going to give it another pause briefly to allow anyone to join virtually. Because this is second reading on this one. So I do think this is the last bite of the apple. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands waving at me that there is public comment or anyone asking or requesting to participate in public comment. So I will close this public hearing, and I will look for a motion from council.
I move to adopt ordinance 20-07, an ordinance amending Article 3 of Chapter 4 of the City of Lone Tree Municipal Code concerning sales tax and economic nexus for retailers or vendors without physical presence in the state on second reading.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. And again, thanks for the great staff work on this. Briefly for council has asked me to make the council comments on behalf of all. I think we want to say you survived the summer of 2020. I think there is something to be said for that. As we look forward to entering fall and the promise and hopes of a vaccine or therapeutic for COVID, we are certainly hoping that all of you are staying healthy and well in your community, out in our community. We want to ask that you continue to social distance, continue to wash your hands, and to wear a mask when you're in public or close to someone else. We want to thank any of you who have joined us this evening. We want to say a huge, deep felt gratitude to our amazing staff and the residents and businesses in our community. And to my partners on council, thank you for all you do. With that, we're adjourned.